We got good Red Sox news and we got maybe not so good Red Sox news we're talking about today. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and today we're breaking down the two latest news stories surrounding the Boston Red Sox, and I gotta tell you, they are polar opposites of each other. One of them, a not good look. One of them, a really good look. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. So now the question becomes, do we start with the good news or do we start with the bad news? I think it's always good to start with the bad news first, then head into the good news. So that's exactly what we are going to do. Now, normally, I don't think this would be too much of a conversation, especially with sort of some outlying stuff, but with where the Red Sox are right now, a lot of people were not happy about this. So yesterday, like we talked about in yesterday's video, was the deadline for arbitration agreements before they head into actual arbitration. Basically, teams want to try and get these guys signed so they don't have to go through the arbitration process and potentially ruin a good relationship with their players. All but 18 arbitration eligible players were able to get a deal done yesterday. Well, one of the 18 was Jarren Duran, who did not get a deal done with the Boston Red Sox. And honestly, like I said, this isn't necessarily a massive deal right now. They basically have until January 27th through February 14th, whenever his arbitration hearing is between those, couple of weeks, to figure out a deal and finish something up. And by the time we get to that point, there's probably a pretty good chance the Red Sox do that. They historically are actually pretty solid at not going to arbitration with their players. So we could be talking about a non-story here. However, because of everything that's going on with the Red Sox right now, this just simply is not a good look. And a big reason why it isn't a good look right now is because of the numbers and figures that came out surrounding Jarren Duran's non-deal with the Boston Red Sox. Because after the arbitration hard deadline at 8 p.m. last night, it was revealed that Jarren Duran was asking for $4 million and the Red Sox wouldn't go past $3.5 million. That's $500,000. And again, this wouldn't be a story because more than likely we are going to totally forget about this come April, right? We're probably not going to hear a ton about it. They'll probably sign a deal at some point and then it won't really matter. But right now, again, it just simply doesn't look good, especially when you're talking about Jarren Duran, who was the MVP of the Boston Red Sox last year. He was by far and away your most valuable player. He was one of the most valuable players in the sport. This is a guy who Alex Cora has pumped up as a leader and a role model for this team. This is a guy who Craig Breslow has pumped up as a leader and role model for this team. This is a guy who ownership has pumped up as a leader and a role model for this team. And we're going to take that guy all the way into an arbitration hearing over $500,000 as the third most valuable team in the entire sport. To me, it's just not a good look. It just doesn't look like a team like the Red Sox should be operating. $500,000 may be a lot to you and me, but to a team like the Boston Red Sox, it is a penny, right? It's less than $1 million. It is a drop in the ocean kind of contract that the Red Sox could be signing for Jarren Duran, who again had a value up north of $30 million last year and who's asking for $4 million. It becomes a little bit even more precarious as to why the Red Sox aren't doing this when you take a look at what he was projected to get, which was close to $5 million. So not only is Jarren Duran already asking for well below what he's been worth in terms of overall WAR value, but he's also asking less than what he was worth below what his projected arbitration value was. For the Red Sox to not come to Jarren Duran's number, $500,000 worth of numbers here, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Again, if the Red Sox had been spending a ton of money this offseason, the normal conversations around these arbitration players would pop up. This is probably a strategic move based on what he's projected to do in 2025, not what he did in 2024. It's precedent setting for his next few years of arbitration, right? There are reasons why the Red Sox might not want to do this, but amidst an entire offseason where you essentially, everyone was telling us, hey, Sox are going to spend, and the Sox haven't spent, this is just another sort of feather in the cap of the allegations the Red Sox just simply can't beat of being cheap and nickel and diming these players, and specifically not willing to go that extra mile. We weren't willing to go the extra mile with a lot of players in free agency this offseason. It was a narrative that was going on last offseason, and now you've got a player on your team who wants to be here, who you've labeled as the leader of this clubhouse, who's going to be a role model for these younger players coming up, these superstar potential players. You got him haggling over $500,000. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand why the Red Sox are doing this. Now, again, there are reasons, right? There are legitimate reasons as to why the Red Sox might not want to budge on this number in terms of projections, in terms of precedent, in terms of all that. And there might be good baseball sense to this, but you don't have to have good baseball sense with everything, right? Not everything needs to be an incredibly smart move. And with your most valuable player, I feel like you can have a little bit of wiggle room as to what's a smart move and what's not a smart move. Maybe it's a good baseball move in the long run, but PR-wise, it certainly doesn't look good. And again, you're taking, if this doesn't work out, your best overall player last year into an arbitration process, which historically has not exactly mended relationships between a player and a team. For a player to essentially sit there and be told by the people you are playing for that you are simply not worth what you believe you are worth, and we believe you are worth less to the point where we're going to have a third party determine that, yeah, it probably doesn't sit well with this guy. I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. And again, I know there are going to be people who are like, Corbin, this isn't a big deal. The Red Sox have plenty of time to sign him still. They probably will end up signing him. And this won't be a story that we remember even going into spring training. And you know what? You're probably right, but we're not there yet. We're not at that point. And until the Red Sox can actually sign Jarren Duran, it doesn't look good for this organization. I don't think it's a smart move by this team. I think there's a million different people you can haggle money over. Jarren Duran, in my opinion, just isn't at the top of this list. Now, on top of this, it probably isn't going to impact their plans long term. We kind of already knew that Duran wasn't a super big extension contract lookout type player, right? Mostly because he's not going to be a free agent until his early 30s, really 33. So the Red Sox have plenty of time with him still. This isn't someone that's a necessity to lock down into free agency. So it's not really going to impact too much there, but public perception wise, it's certainly having an impact. People are not happy over the fact that the Red Sox couldn't shell out an extra $500,000 to just avoid this whole story and not make it a story. The players have to be sitting there being like, what are we doing? Right? If you're a player on the Red Sox and you were with this team last year, maybe you're going into arbitration, maybe you even already have a deal, you're probably sitting there being like, what's the point? What's the point of this extra $500,000? Why are we making this such a big deal? And I think that's why I'm genuinely upset about this, because it shouldn't be a story in the first place. You're the third most valuable franchise in the league. This is $500,000. You probably make that in a homestand with how the Red Sox operate. So I just don't get it. And to me, it's not good news. I understand there are going to be people saying this isn't a big deal. I personally think it is from a public perception standpoint as of right now. And again, it's not the end of the world because things can change pretty quickly. They have a few weeks to figure it out. But this isn't the only news we needed to talk about with the Red Sox today, because the other news is actually, in my opinion, very good news in terms of public perception, in terms of the Red Sox in general. It's always good news for a major league team when their farm system is one of the strongest in the sport, and the Red Sox recently were just voted the best farm system in Major League Baseball. MLB Pipeline did their poll of MLB executives, so guys who run these organizations voted in this sort of poll here, and the Red Sox pretty overwhelmingly were voted the number one farm system in the sport at 32% of the votes. And one thing that I find really interesting about this voting process was that these polls originally went out before the Garrett Crochet trade. Guys voted on this, or people voted on this, and then sent it back. After the Crochet trade, MLB Pipeline said, you guys can change your answers if you want to. And every single one of these people, outside of one of them, said, no, we're good. We still think the Red Sox have the number one farm system. And I think that just goes to show how strong the Red Sox farm system really is. I mean, it's hard to deny just how good the farm system has been for the Red Sox. You've got voted number one prospect in baseball in this poll, Roman Anthony, guy who got votes for the most underrated prospect, guy who won the best player in minor league baseball award last year, Christian Campbell. You've got number 7 prospect still in the sport and number 2 overall shortstop, Marcelo Meyer, who I think people just simply forget about or have written off because of the injury he had last season. He's still a major part of this organization's future. future. And you know what I really love about the idea of the Red Sox having the number one farm system is that people are going to sit there and they're going to go, Corbin, that's great. But at the end of the day, we don't care because the Red Sox aren't winning games at the major league level. And that's fine. But this is now at the point where these guys are going to help this team win games at the major league level, not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now, not even next year. We're talking about this year, right? All three of those guys have the potential to impact and produce at the big league level at various points this season. I think that's what I'm most excited about with this Red Sox farm system. And I also think another thing that's really exciting and a reason why the Red Sox were voted number one farm system in baseball is because of the people that are coming up after these three, right? These are the big three. These are the guys who have been some of the better prospects the Red Sox have had, maybe ever, but over the last decade at least. You still got a lot of really talented players behind him. Franklin Arias was voted one of the most underrated prospects in the entire sport, just in this poll as well. You've got guys like Yost Nixon Garcia, Yoel Cespedes, Luis Paredes coming back from injury, Justin Gonzalez, Miguel Blaze. You've got so much talent in this farm system continuing to come up. You just drafted Conrad Kaysen, Nizan Zanatello is coming into a full year again. You've got a ton of talent in this organization that doesn't stop once these big three come up. This pipeline over the last few years has really developed into something absolutely fantastic. And that's not just me blowing smoke because I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. This is something that was agreed upon by a majority of MLB executives this year. And I find that absolutely fascinating. And I know people are going to sit there and say, well, what about the pitching? There's a lot of exciting stuff coming from the pitching side of things as well. Peyton Toll was voted as a breakout prospect this season for the Red Sox. Hunter Dobbins and what he did last year. David Sandlin's outside metrics, outside of his ERA, are exciting. You've got Luis Paredes, who was a top 100 prospect in baseball before he went down. There are a lot of potential impact pitchers in this system right now as well. There is a whole lot to be excited about if you're a Red Sox fan and this farm system, and it's more exciting in my opinion than it's been in past years because it's not, boy, this is going to be exciting in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. This is going to be exciting this season. We've talked about Roman Anthony's, what his potential impact could look like. We talked about Christian Campbell and what his potential impact could look like. We've talked about these guys, right? We've been talking about them all off season. These are dudes who could open the year on this opening day roster, who could make an impact immediately, who are headlining the best farm system in the entire sport. It's exciting stuff. It's stuff to really genuinely hang your hat on as something to look forward to come opening day this year. So this is good news for the Red Sox. If you're a Red Sox fan, you should be pumped that the Red Sox have got voted the number one farm system in baseball. And I understand it doesn't necessarily equate to wins on the field. And I understand that you want the Red Sox to win major league games, not win minor league awards. And that's fine. And it's understandable, but this is part of it. Every player in Major League Baseball at one point was a prospect, right? No one came into the league straight out of high school, straight out of college. Everyone had to work their way through this, unless obviously you sign from a different league, but that's another story. This is how all-star superstars are made, and hopefully the Red Sox have a few of them. Major League Baseball appears to be very scared of what the Red Sox could be bringing up over the next couple of years. So really exciting stuff. And again, it feels like a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde video, right? We start with the boy, that really stinks from a PR standpoint story to, man, the Red Sox are in really good shape. We're all over the place in this video. Overall, taking a look at everything. I'm not going to rest until the Red Sox have signed Jarren Duran. If he goes to arbitration, I'm going to be really upset. It's over $500,000. He was the face of your team last year. He's a leader, a labeled role model for these young kids. Don't make this a thing. Please, Red Sox, don't make this a thing. You already have so many allegations you're fighting about being cheap. This is just making it worse. The other part of it, I absolutely love. I love prospects in general, but I love that the fact that the Red Sox are terrifying the rest of Major League Baseball with where their farm system is at. So good and bad. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. What do you think of the Duran stuff? Where's your head at on that? Where's your head at with the Red Sox farm system? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps this video out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.